Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm gonna tell you a pretty scary and weird story again today. Honestly, I try to look for these stories, analyze them, and voice them, so if it's not too hard, put a like and subscribe and we're off. I found my missing friend at a darknet auction. Chris disappeared 3 years ago. It was as sudden as someone turning off the lights in a room. He was my best friend since childhood, the guy who was always dragging me on adventures. We'd climb abandoned buildings, sneak into closed movie theaters, explore urban legends. And then he got interested in the darknet. You can find anything on the darknet, he said, eyes sparkling. He spent weeks exploring hidden sites, surfing closed forums, until one day he just disappeared. Without a trace. Phone was silent. The police had their hands full, no record. Just disappeared without a trace of a struggle. And then, 3 years later, I came across something on the internet. I'd long been interested in the dark corners of the web, but I hadn't delved into it. That night, while browsing a forum, I came across a discussion of a private auction. People wrote that you could buy anything there, special merchandise. I decided to dig deeper. Following the instructions, I installed Tor, followed the necessary links. Took a long time to find the auction. Black background, white text, categories. I scrolled through the items. Rare artifacts, illegal substances, and then people. I froze. Opened one of the lots. A dirty, battered man with a blank stare. Signed, lot number 23, male, 27 years old. Excellent physical shape. Psychological processing, 80%. I squinted, my heart sank. It was Chris. I wasn't breathing. It was him, exhausted, but Chris. 80% treatment? What does that mean? I reread the description. The minimum bid was $50,000. My hands were shaking. I couldn't just let it go, but I had to get it out. I knew the auction banned accounts for unpaid bids. I made a fake one. A second later, a notification came up saying, "You have won. Pay within 60 minutes. Chaos ensued in the chat room. Who's the idiot? Stupid bet, he won't pay. But I didn't care. More important was another thing. I got the seller's contact. I checked the IP. He was a few kilometers from my town. I grabbed a bat and a knife and drove. The building stood in an industrial zone. I snuck inside through a hole in the fence. It was dark inside, smelled rotten. Voices. I hid behind crates. 2 guards were smoking by the cage. I waited a moment. I took out a bat and hit one in the head. The other grabbed for a weapon, but I plunged a knife into his arm. He screamed. I took the keys from him and ran on. He was sitting on the floor with his head down. "Chris!" He looked up slowly. He didn't recognize me. "Dude, that is me." I opened the cage, grabbed him. He didn't fight back. What did they do to him? I threw him on my shoulder and ran. Siren, screams, gunfire. I took cover behind crates, the gunfire echoing through the warehouse. I rushed for the exit. Chris barely moved. We jumped in the car. Floor it. Through the mirrors, I could see them running after us, but we got away. I drove him back to my place. Chris wouldn't talk. He sat in the corner, unblinking. And at night he whispered, "They're coming." On the 3rd day, I heard whispering outside the door. I looked through the peephole. There they were. I grabbed my gun. Chris looked at me. "Open it?" His voice was foreign. I didn't open it. They started breaking down the door. I grabbed Chris and smashed the window. We ran out into the night. I raced through the dark streets, hearing footsteps behind me. They were following us. I knew if we stopped, it was the end. We hid in a motel. I barricaded the door. Chris didn't say anything. "Dude, what did they do to you?" He looked at me. They always see. In the night, I woke up to a rustling sound. Something flashed in Chris's eyes. I grabbed the knife. "You're not my friend," he smiled, "but you're theirs now. I dashed for the door. They were outside. I grabbed my phone, my wallet, my keys. I ran to the window. Knock on the door. Another attack. Faster. Harder. I jumped up on the windowsill, kicked out the glass and jumped to the dirty asphalt. Chris didn't follow me. I ran, without turning around. I didn't want to see who would walk into my room. Run where? I crossed several streets, exhausted, hiding in a dark alley. The phone. I turned it on and immediately saw a new. Transfer will begin in 5 minutes. What? I clicked on the message. It opened the website. Black screen, white text. Lot number 24. Male, 26 years old. Physical fitness, excellent. Psychological processing, 5%. My heart sank. That was my photo. We're live. The transfer has begun. Darkness, then light. A familiar room. A motel. I saw myself through the camera. I stood at the window, shivering, with my phone in my hand. But I was looking at this side from the outside. The screen shook. Chris stepped out of the shadows. His eyes were burning now. He slowly turned toward the camera, and he smiled. The first offer appeared in the comments. $50,000. I shouted. The last one's, run. Run anywhere. But what if all this has already happened? What if they caught me a long time ago, and I'm just looking at my own sale? The second item appeared on the screen. Lot number 25, female, 24 years old. Status, in transit. Photo. My sister. I didn't have time to scream. Chris's voice came from behind me. They were already here. After these words, I ran away in a flash. And now I'm always running. Because they won't let me go. Because now I'm lot 24. It's a good thing my parents live out of town so I could hide from them. But it still scares me to think that they're gonna come and put me up for sale.